Hi, good morning. I'm so delighted to be here. Thank you very much for this warm introduction. So, meaning, purpose. I've been asked to speak on this topic. So, I'm going to talk about purpose and what have donuts got to do with it. We're here talking about new economies. And in the space of new economics, there are many ideas that we are sharing. Donut economics, well-being economics that today is framed around regenerative economics, circular economics. But some people would say these ideas are not so new because actually, in a wonderful English pun from the Maori scholar Shane Edwards, he'd say, my culture, the Maori culture, we knew this a long time ago. Whether it's from Maori culture, Ubuntu, or gross national happiness from Bhutan, many indigenous cultures have long known the insights that we are seeking to bring about in what we from the West now call new economics. So I want to acknowledge that we're reconnecting with something that's long been held. And maybe we can find a purpose, a meaning that has long been known, but find our own version of it. We need to come from our own cultures, our own traditions, back towards something that other cultures can help us relearn. So, in the space of new economics, just reflecting on what the purpose could be. Well, I was raised on 20th century economics, the neoliberal Western economic mindset that I was taught at Oxford University in the 1990s, which I think is still far too much taught today. And at the heart of that, there's no conversation on purpose. We never had a conversation about what the purpose was for of the economy. The problem is if you have no conversation about it, then a purpose sneaks in without being noticed. And the purpose that sneaked in and occupies our politicians and their economic advisors is this goal of growth. It becomes the de facto purpose. The meaning is to accumulate, to have more, for your children to earn more, to live in bigger houses, to travel further, for us to have more. That is how we have been taught to know that we were succeeding, certainly in my country, in the UK. This doesn't take us anywhere, and it certainly doesn't satisfy us. So you might think that I'm here to say today that the purpose of the 21st century economy is the donut, but I don't think it is. I don't think it is. And here's why. I'm going to introduce the donut, but I don't think it's our purpose. So the donut, think of it as a compass for human thriving, for prosperity, for well-being. It's one possible compass that could take us there. And if you think of humanity's use of Earth's resources radiating out from the center of that circle, then the hole in the middle is the place where people are left falling short on the essentials of life. It's where people do not have the resources that every person has a claim to for health, education, housing, food, energy, income, equity. Every person has a claim to meet their rights and their needs. And the world's governments have recognized this in the Sustainable Development Goals. They've already agreed that every person in the world has a right not to be left in the hole. So get everybody over the social foundation, out of that deprivation, so that we can all lead lives of community and well-being and dignity. But as we seek to meet our needs and our wants, we risk going over that outer circle, the ecological ceiling. So there we collectively put so much pressure on this delicately balanced, unique, living planet that we start to kick her out of balance. And here we start to risk going over these 9 planetary boundaries recognized by Earth system scientists as the life-supporting systems that make life work on this planet. Together, they give us a stable climate and fertile soils and healthy oceans and abundant biodiversity and recharging freshwater cycles and a protective ozone layer overhead. We would be crazy to kick ourselves beyond this realm. But of course, that's exactly the risk we're absolutely doing. So I could say, yeah, the goal, the donut is the purpose, the meaning of the economy, but I don't think it is. Here's what I think it is. I think it's the preconditions for having a purpose. What is your purpose? Anyone here, what is your purpose? Maybe it's to be an artist, to protect your children from the insecurities that you faced as a child. Maybe it's to create a more diverse nation. Maybe it's to regenerate the living earth. Who can say what anyone's purpose is? We all find our own purpose. But what the donut offers is a space, the preconditions, the context, the foundations in which we actually have a chance of achieving that. Ensuring that every person has the resources to contribute to society, to participate with dignity, with voice, with equity in the community, so that they can then pursue their purpose. To ensure that the life support systems of this planet are stable, so that we are not continually buffered by climate breakdown and ecological breakdown and one crisis after another that diverts everybody from pursuing their purpose. So the donut offers us a place in which we can pursue purpose, but we must bring that meaning, that purpose, and that is a deep inner reflection. The donut doesn't even positively say where we should go to. It actually says what we must avoid. So as a little pun, we could say that the donut is actually a do not. Do not leave anyone in the hole. Do not overshoot Earth's limits. Beyond that, it's for you to find the purpose. It's for you to find the direction. All the donut says, don't go here. Oh, don't go there. That's what it just tells us. But the rest, within the green ring, that is where humanity must get creative, inventive, collaborative, innovative, profound, spiritual, thoughtful. That's where we must find our own purpose. Who are we beings, we human beings? How do we belong again in this living world? That's where we must do the work. The donut just gives us the play space in which to find and answer that question. The donut invites balance, right? Endless growth said whoosh, through the ceiling. The donut says, no, the shape of progress is like this. Just show me with your hands like this. Can you do this? Yeah. Oh, you look lovely. Good way to start a Monday morning, just with a little bit of balance. Yeah, you see, we feel it. And it's like a heartbeat. In our own bodies, we know that health lies in balance. It's not, nothing in our body tries to grow endlessly. If it does, we call it cancer. We stop it as soon as we can. We know that we thrive because we live in balance. This is the shape of life. This is what makes things survive and live, because they stay in a zone of balance. But we are very far from balance right now. This is what we know. And this image shows us all the billions of people worldwide falling short on life's essentials. The red in the middle, the red wedge on food goes 11% of the way to the center of the circle, because 11% of people worldwide don't have enough food to eat every day. We want to eliminate all of that red. Leave no one in the hole. But, big but, we have to do it while coming back within all of those planetary boundaries, because we've already overshot them. It's a double whammy challenge. And for me, this is the moment where we stop. This is the image that our children, our grandchildren will tug us on the sleeve. What did you do once that you knew? We have to remember that last century's economists never saw this. So there's no reason we should expect their theories to serve us in coming back within this space. They weren't designed to solve for this. They were not for this purpose. Last century's government policies were not designed for this. Last century's energy systems were not designed to solve for this, and they're never going to solve this. We need new energy systems, new industries, new business models, new community aspirations, new visions of what a good life is, to turn this story around. I think this is what our children's children will judge us upon. Did you start to turn this story around? What did you do once that you knew? I'm showing you the world, but of course within this, countries have very different roles and responsibilities and impacts. So let's take it down a level. My colleague Andrew Fanning, Dan O'Neill, and others created this fantastic set of national donuts, 150 of them at the website, goodlife.leeds.act.uk. If you want to look up other countries, they're all here. So here's just 4. Malawi, massive human shortfall, not overshooting any of their share of the planet on a tiny income per person. Brazil and China, both a double whammy challenge. Significant human shortfall, significant ecological overshoot. United States, one of the richest countries in the world. High inequality, you can see it inside, and that shows up as deprivation across the country, but massive ecological overshoot. So all of these countries are on transformative journeys if they are going to each meet the needs of all of their people within the means of the living planet. Let's put this in a scatter plot now. This is an array of those 150 countries. The place where every country should aim to be is that top left-hand corner, the green donut. That is where countries have risen up to meet the needs of their people, but have come back within the means of the planet. So that's where everybody should aim to be. So first thing you see, there's nobody there. There's not one country that can say we're living in the donut. Who's closest? Costa Rica. Second, next time you hear yourself or somebody else talking about developed countries, you can say, I'm sorry, where do you mean? Because there's not a single country in this image that should be calling itself developed or advanced. There is nothing developed about overshooting planetary boundaries in ways that undermine the life support system of this planet and undermine the chances of all other people. So all of these nations are on a transformatory journey. Here's the 4 countries I just showed you. And since you want to know, there's you. Here's Norway, right? People often say, Norway, Scandinavia, Denmark, oh, well, yeah, it's not such an easy picture, huh? It's not so great. And these national donuts are measured on the basis of a nation's consumption. So this is measured, for example, your carbon emissions measured on the basis of carbon emissions generated through the consumption of Norway. But recording in progress, this is going down recorded. We know that Norway also produces a lot more fossil fuel that's exported, that shows up as other countries' consumption, but comes in as income here. I've been told I had to say this to you. I've also been told I had to say, did you know that Norway has the highest rate of climate denial in Europe? It's like, whoa. Yeah, you probably know that, right? These are the people in the room who already knew this. And I was just told, you have to say it. You have to say it. Hey, I'm English, okay? Most people spend time telling me things about the history of my country. So we're in this together, people. I feel you. Okay, but so this is not a pretty picture for any of these nations. So let's also recognize that all of the countries here are interconnected. From histories of colonialism, I will hold the claim for this one as a British person, right? Histories of colonialism, of military and corporate power, which is so present right now in the world, of trade and finance rules, of extraction of resources, of the current and future impacts of climate change. Right? So we are all deeply interconnected. No country can pull itself out alone and say, we alone made it. Every country's history and fate is tied to every other. So if we're going to do this, we do this together. No country has its own planetary boundaries. We all depend on the ones that we all affect. The history of pursuing growth has generally taken countries like this. First, lifting them up. And yeah, when you're a Malawi, doubling your national income can massively improve outcomes. Kids go to school, they survive, women get jobs, get reproductive rights, people have lives that they actually can rely on their livelihood, things improve. But instead of going straight up towards Costa Rica, the vast majority of countries turn additional income after about $15,000 per person. It starts to go into ecological overshoot. So the history of just pursuing growth, if that's the purpose of the economy, it ain't going to take us there. Go straight past it. In fact, here are national trajectories done by my colleague Andrew Fanning showing this is actually how individual countries go. So even the Costa Ricas are not going that way. They're going that way. We're not going in the right direction yet. And I have to turn to Donella Meadows, one of the fantastic mothers of systems thinking, massive inspiration to me. She did not mince her words. Growth is one of the stupidest purposes ever invented by any culture. We've got to have an enough. So on the topic of purpose, she said, that is not it, right? Always ask when anyone says growth, we need growth. And in my country, they're big on growth. Of how, what, and why, and for whom, and who pays the cost, and how long can it last, and what's the cost of the planet, and how much is enough? So, can we instead see low-income nations rise, others reorient, and high-income countries reduce, and rebalance? A massive international rebalancing. What do I mean? Many meanings to that. Is it return of stolen land, reparations? Is it redistribution of technology, wealth, power in international institutions? For some people, this becomes the purpose, rightly so. This rebalancing of global imbalances of power. To me, this becomes a map of the direction we need to go in, whether I'm looking at the news of global geopolitics or my local politics. Is it taking us in this direction or away? Many places say, okay, that was the global level, the national level, but actually here, we as a city, as a town, as a state, as a county, can we get into the donut here? Can we try? Town councillors, mayors started to approach us. And so we said, let's come up with a tool. So we unroll the donut, we make some space inside it, and we have this little question, but it's not a little question, it's a very big one. I invite you to think about this, about your own town or municipality in this question. How can our city or town or village, how can it become a home to thriving people in a thriving place while respecting the well-being of all people and the health of the whole planet? And I hope you can hear in that, it's a very local question. How can we here live well, our good lives and our local surroundings, while respecting the impact and the influence that we have on the whole world? So it forces us to take account of, just even look at this room, the chairs, our clothes, the electronics, your phones, laptops, they were not made in Norway. They've all been imported. Well, many have been imported, as they are in all countries. So we are connected materially and ethically to materials and labor worldwide. How do we live well here while being responsible for our impacts elsewhere? So we break this down into what we call the 4 lenses. How can everyone in our city thrive? What would it mean? And what do we mean by a good life here? What's the minimum that we are committed to ensure everybody has? And how do we lift them there? This is usually the question asked in localities. It's the focus, but we must go beyond. How can our locality be as generous as the wild land next door? Can we create cities that are as generous as nature? Nature stores carbon. She doesn't release it with buildings. Nature stores groundwater after a storm. She doesn't have flash flooding across the streets. Nature cleanses the air and cools the air on a hot day. Can we build housing, cities, agriculture that is as generous as nature? So these are the local aspirations, but we put them in the global context. How can we live within planetary boundaries? How can we reduce our energy and our material use so that we come back within our fair share? And we in these high-income nations have a massive responsibility to move on that. And how do we make sure that we respect the well-being of people worldwide? Are they paid decent wages when they policies and their practices? From Thimphu in Bhutan, Tomelilla in Sweden, Barcelona, Ipoh in Malaysia, and many, many more. If you're really interested in them, you can dive into this report that my colleague Leonora wrote about all the different ways that towns and cities are getting started as local governments. Because we've learned that the powerful thing is peer-to-peer inspiration. One mayor, councillor learning from another. That's how it's spreading. But there are also community groups that are setting up, deciding to see what it means to bring the donut to life where they are, including here in Norway, across the world, learning from each other and inspiring us in return. And then this one study that's recently been produced by Eric Gomez-Bagathan and Thomas, I don't know how to say his surname, Rokas? Thomas, how do you say your name? Rokus. They did this amazing study to show actually where Norway is. This is your own donut portrait of your nation. And things need progress, right? It's not so pretty. So every country, every town, every nation can study their own reality through this lens and say, our goal is to combat within the donut from both sides, because that will enable us as a nation, as communities, as individuals, as families, to find a purpose in a world that can actually thrive. So let me return back here. I wrote Donut Economics to rewrite the economics that I was taught. Think of 7 ways to think like a 21st century economist. But these don't give us purpose. They equip us with a mindset to create a world that thrives so that we individually can find a purpose in our own lives and enable a world that totally thrives with that. And let me finish by saying, if any of these ideas resonate with you, I warmly welcome you to connect with our platform, donuteconomics.org. You can become a member, you can browse, or you can connect with the Norwegian Donut Economics Network that's here in the room. Please put your hand up and shake your hands now if you're, wait, there they are. You can find these people, the fantastic networking going on here, to say, what does it mean to bring this concept alive in Norway? But let me pull right back. This is just one approach that takes us somewhere towards purpose, somewhere towards new economic thinking, which we are gradually realizing that many other cultures have long, long known. May we reconnect with that and find it in our own way, with our own meaning and our own purpose. Thank you very much.